Shane Taylor, the self-proclaimed the baddest of all time. How are you doing? Welcome to PipeBomb Podcast, man.
Hold on. You're gonna come here with that sort of introduction to self-proclaimed baddest? No, no,
No?
no, no. You didn't hit accolades. You didn't hit nothing. You're not talking about.
Okay. Um,
You're talking about the former Ring of Honor World Television champion,
of
the
course.
CEO of Shane Taylor Promotions, the baddest of all time. No asterisk, no self-proclaimed Shane Taylor. That's how you
Okay.
introduce someone like myself.
Sorry, man. I was trying to be kind. That's even better than mine, of course.
I know it was. I know it was. Why? Because I did it.
Yeah, I know that. Thank you so much for being here, Shane. This is an honor, a truly honor to be here talking with you because, man, you're the first ever international guest in PipeBomb Podcast. So, how do you feel about that, man?
How do you feel about that?
I'm
I feel
great.
confusing.
I'm great,
But
man.
I mean, first international guest. That's how it's done. Had the long talk with Kevin Eck when I did the Honor Strong
Mm.
podcast. I was like guest number 29 or something. I was like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You don't have me on 29th. You know what I mean? But it's all good. Thank you for having me.
No, it's a real pleasure for me. So first, before getting into your career, your professional career as a professional wrestling, I want to ask you, how did you live all this situation around COVID-19? Because it's been a very tough months, and here in Spain, we were like, okay, this is very tough, but how do you live that?
Uh, just kind of following the protocols, man. You try to distance as much as you can. You wear your mask, you wash your hands, and you do all of the things that are in your control. Try to limit the places you go and things of that sort. And that's really all you can do, man. You know what I mean? With everything that's still so unknown and all of that, the numbers seem to be going back up. You know what I mean? As people continue to go on about their lives, but you just do what you can,
Hmm.
same as everybody else.
Um, Now let's go back to your career before even started. Tell us about your first contact with pro wrestling, what it was, when it was, how it was.
Mm. My earliest memory of it would be my dad taking me to the Richfield Coliseum
Hmm.
in Ohio, and the match that I remember seeing was the Warlord against Kerry Von Erich,
Oh.
and it went to a double countout, and everybody in the building just started throwing shit down at them. There was cups flying, popcorn flying. I was like, "Yo, what is this?
The old days.
Whatever this, whatever this environment is, I need to be a part of it. This is chaos. This is, you know, for two people. I had to ask my dad. I was like, "Do they know them?" And he was like, "Nah." I was like, "So for two people who none of these people have ever met, you know what I mean?" To generate that sort of response and make a whole building hate them, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Was insane. So I knew right then I was like, this is something that I got to be a part of.
Mhm. Uh, do you feel passionate about professional wrestling at that time? You thought you were like, I want to be somebody else, or I want to do something different that it's not professional wrestling, or you were that kind of people that say, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I be in the future.
I I knew it was something that I wanted to do, but I really didn't know how to go about doing it, right? Um, because back then, the only places that I thought that you could really go were like to WWF
Yeah.
at the time,
Hmm.
or to like the WCW Power Plant, which I don't even know if it was up and running then, but it could have been. Um, so I had no idea about independent wrestling or what that was, or training schools or anything like that. So while I wanted to do it, I took more traditional paths through sports: football, wrestling, track and field, all that good stuff. Um, and it wasn't until I was in college that I ran into some guys that were on the independent scene at the time in my area,
Hmm.
and then talked to them and figured out. how to get involved and how to be a part of this, and the rest is history, as they say.
Hmm. Maybe many people that is watching this interview or listening to it knows you for your days as a ROH wrestler, but you have a career that's begun in 2007. Uh, how do you remember those days being on the independent scene, and what did you learn from being there?
On the independent scene, it's a lot like any independent scene when you're talking about trying to be an artist. You know, whether it's independent rappers or musicians or anything else like that. It's long days, long nights, very little sleep, doing a lot of things for zero to no, little to no money.
Hmm.
Just trying to put in that work to get your name out there.
Yep.
Learning as much as you can from everybody around you, trying to be a sponge. And not everybody's worth listening to, but you have to at least pretend like you are. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
there's the lessons that I learned are invaluable. You know what I mean? Trying to and especially for someone who comes from a competitive sports background like myself, there was learning how to play the game within the game,
Hmm.
right? I'm used to, if I outperform you or I outbeat you, then I get your spot. Plain
Hmm.
and simple. No fuss, there's no argument to be had. I outperform you, I get your spot.
Yep.
Professional wrestling doesn't work like that.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Learning how to deal with that, was difficult. Um, and now going forward, understanding more about it and then more of the business side of it. Um, my days on the independent scene helped prepare me for that, or at least help me get my mind to the place that I needed it to be, so that when I went and joined Ring of Honor, I could already have um, that base mindset and not have it be a shock.
Hmm. Do you consider this time the most difficult time for you as a professional wrestler?
No,
Hmm.
um, while it's difficult, to not have fans there,
Hmm.
and we want to be with our fans and perform for them. Um, I think your early days are harder because you're learning, growing, and you're doing so many shows and doing all that.
Yep.
At this point, you kind of you know who you are, and you just get to go out there and do your thing. You obviously work still tremendously hard,
Hmm.
but I mean, all of the hard stuff is done prior to me getting in the ring. The ring is the fun part.
Hmm. 2 weeks ago in ROH TV, you said that Rowe was one of the first people that you were into the first steps that you were in when you were in professional wrestling. Uh,
Mhm.
what it means for you, Rowe?
He's man, he's the guy. You know what I mean? He's everything that you would want in a big brother and a friend. He's a godfather to my kids. That's
Hmm.
documented.
Wow.
Um, he's you know he's my big brother. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
his knowledge, training, mentorship, advice, has helped propel me to where I'm at now. Um, Sometimes he's had to, do it by unconventional means and piss me off in order to motivate me and get me going. But that's the kind of guy he is. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? He wants the best for the people around him that he's close to, and he'll push you however he feels he has
Hmm.
to make sure you get there.
Hmm.
Um, and if you don't, then that's on you. But
Yep.
you can't say it's because he didn't push you to get there. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? So, um, yeah, I mean, sacrificing airplane rides to drive with me 15, 18 hours one way
Wow.
to go to shows, just to get me an opportunity. There's not a lot of people that are built like that in this world, and he's one of them.
That's a true friend.
Yeah,
It is.
for sure.
In 2014, your career changes completely when ROH comes to you and gives you an opportunity to be a wrestler for Ring of Honor. When did you know ROH was interested on you?
Uh, I've been there a few times,
Uh-huh.
and I tried to be very coachable, and they would give me advice on things to change. And each time I came back, I had changed the thing that they didn't like and
Mm-hmm.
tried to just give them more of what they did like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it wasn't until Keith and I started to tag team and we came out in the suits and things like that that people really started to go, okay, we can see something with them, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so right after that, shortly after that, maybe 6, 7 months of doing that, it was kind of like, oh, okay. Like once we started getting flown places, we were like, oh, okay, like it's starting to come together.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we were picking up wins too. Like once we were picking up wins and getting flown places, we're like, all right, this is starting to be a real thing.
Mm-hmm. Um, that's it. You made your first steps in the company with one of the greatest wrestlers of the independent scene back then. Now in WWE, Keith Lee. How it is to work with Key as a Pretty Boy Killers?
Oh, it was great. I mean, we complement each other's styles perfectly. Obviously, we're both hard hitters. We're both straightforward. Uh, both athletic, but Keith has a different level of athlete in him.
Mm-hmm.
His ability to
Yep.
go and do the aerial
For
moves, to
sure.
do all the crazy things that he does.
Yep.
You know, that's what he brought to the table, as well as his charisma,
Mm-hmm.
presence. And for me, I bring what I bring, and I'm very much straightforward and hard hitting, and able to sort of be that yin and yang balance, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the interaction between the two of us is what makes it fun because of our personality differences.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a lot of people get to see us having fun out there because we're genuinely just talking shit to each other a lot of times. You know what I mean? And just having a good time,
Yeah.
man. But when you're out there with one of your boys, that allows you to bring the intensity, bring the show, but also bring that piece of you that connects to the people too.
Mm-hmm. How did you react it when we all know that Keith Lee was going to work for WWE?
I congratulated him.
Mm-hmm.
Me and him were talking prior,
Yep.
um, and he was mentioning that there were multiple reasons for it, which I understood all completely.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I just told him, I was like, "Hey, man, look, you have to go do what's best for you, your career, your family, and the goals that he has after wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
He had to do what he had to do." And like I told him, and like I've said in other podcasts and interviews,
Mm-hmm.
it was my job to be a star with or without him,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
So the goal when we started was for us to both make careers out of this. That's been achieved.
Mm-hmm. After this time with Key as Pretty Boy Killers, you began another run. This time with Caprice Coleman, with Red Titus, with Candy King as this stable called Rebellion. In what aspects did you evolve as a wrestler, as a professional wrestler, when you were part of this stable?
What do I think I learned from that?
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, I learned a lot from those guys, especially uh, I learned how to move in Ring of Honor. And when I say that, I don't just mean like how to conduct yourself as a professional. There are just certain ways, especially when you're dealing with corporate companies.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain ways that you have to move, certain avenues that you have to take, landmines that you can step on and not even know that you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
things of that sort, right? Because you're blending multiple worlds,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's the world I come from, where everything is straightforward, it's abrasive, it's cut to the chase, and then you have a corporate world where people are, it's more nuanced,
Mm-hmm.
it's more subtle.
Mm-hmm.
People tend to, you know, play around points as opposed to getting straight to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, um, a lot of times those worlds can clash, right? And
Yep.
people from the business world can see someone like myself and think I'm being rude or abrasive or aggressive, and I'm really not.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just trying to cut through all the bullshit to get to to get to what the point is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So that time with them was crucial because they allowed me to see just how things were working, and so I've been able to move a little different to avoid, you know,
Mm-hmm.
most of the time stepping on those landmines and having those problems. And of course, the in-ring stuff, the timing, the when and whys, and all of that comes. And you couldn't ask for three better performers to learn from at that time
Mm-hmm.
than the three of them.
Mm-hmm. Like you said on your amazing introduction of this interview, you're a former
That's all. Thank you.
you're a former ROH World Television champion. Um, what it meant for you, personal and professionally, that title reign.
Uh, it was eye-opening, bittersweet, but at the same time, it was amazing because um, I've only had two big goals, well, three big goals when I started this career path.
Mm-hmm.
One was to provide a living for my family.
Yep.
The others were to go to Japan
Mm-hmm.
and then to go to Ring of Honor.
Yep.
Um, so being able to knock out two out of three of those so far, and then being able to make history on top of it, and be only the third African American male in the history of the company to win that championship, other than Kenny King and Jay Lethal,
Mm-hmm.
was tremendous.
Yep.
I remember the night I won it in Toronto. There was a lot of open mouths, a lot of people like, "What the hell is going on? No way!"
Mm-hmm.
A lot of shocked faces, and then I looked off into the distance, and there was a group of about maybe 10 to 15 black kids
Mm-hmm.
and their parents, and the look on their faces,
Mm-hmm.
the pride, the energy, the excitement, that hope that they had in their eyes when
Mm-hmm.
I won that championship. All it That moment let me know exactly what I needed to be about and what that run needed to be about, and the platform that I was on, the ability to reach people that I had. And I wanted to make sure that I dedicated not only that championship run, but anything that I do after, uh, to making more moments like that for all my fans, but especially for fans that look like me and come from where I come from, because they just don't get a lot of positivity
Mm-hmm.
in the world. Everything they're told is pretty negative, about themselves or their culture, and so I wanted to be that bright spot. I wanted to be that hope, that inspiration. Um, and I think what we're doing with Shane Taylor Promotions lets the world know that that's exactly what our mission is. Some people like that I say that, some people don't, but
Mm-hmm.
the truth is the truth.
In which aspects do you think you have evolved from the Shane Taylor prior to that title reign to the Shane Taylor post champion?
Understanding of what my goals are, understanding of what the mission is, understanding of knowing the fact that I'm gonna have to do things different than other people.
Mm-hmm.
The same avenues, the same opportunities, the same legs up, the same hands that are gonna reach out to help aren't coming for me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I have to make sure that I put myself and my guys in positions to be successful, knowing that those helping hands aren't coming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so what that does is it allows me to focus in more, and really sort of game plan, from a business aspect and from a performance aspect, exactly what we need to do in order to stay where we're at, and that's at the very top of Ring of Honor, because I'm sure there are a lot of people waiting for us to slip so that they can, not give us the credit that we deserve. But uh, as long as we go out there and we keep performing and outperforming, and we keep putting on, matches that get the crowds talking, and there's nothing that they can do.
Mm-hmm. after losing the title at Final Battle. It was confirmed that you were leaving Ring of Honor and become a free agent. Nonetheless, you returned in February 2020 at the beginning of this year. What were the main reasons why you came back to ROH?
One of the main reasons that I came back to ROH is because my guy, my VP COO Ron Hunt, negotiated the single biggest per fight deal in the history of Ring of Honor. I said one of my goals is to provide for my family and change cycles and build generational wealth and pass something along to my kids that they can then take and build something for future generations. This was able to be the start of that. You know, all of that change starts with me. And so being able to make that kind of money, as well as a guaranteed championship opportunity of my choosing and a 6-man championship opportunity for Khan and Moses. All of those factors were huge parts of my decision to come back, because it's great to have singular success, right?
Yep.
But for me, it's not just about self. If I'm going to make it, the goal then is to bring as many people up with me as I can.
That's great, man.
That's how you know what I mean? That's how you build your communities up. That's how you build your culture up. That's how you build those around you, and then they're allowed to go out and help build more people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's about success together. You know, so having those three factors in that new deal is what made me come back.
That's great, man. That's great. 2 weeks ago, again, you said as well that your main goal in ROH is to be world champion. My question is, what kind of champion do you want to be in ROH?
Man,
that's a tough one, huh?
It is, but it's not, because
Yeah.
I know exactly what the champion that I want to be, and I want to be a champion that's truly there for the people, you know, and truly has the people in mind. You know, when Ring of Honor started, it had iconic champions like CM Punk and Danielson and Samoa Joe, Nigel, Morishima, right? Guys that were originals, guys that didn't fit the corporate image of what a champion should be. You know, hey, we think that your gear should be like this, or you should wrestle like this, or you should look like this. And everything they did and everything they were about was essentially a big fuck you to that ideology. You know, to have that rebellious spirit and have the crowd match that made so many of those moments so incredible. Now, I'm all for growth. I'm all for a expansion. I'm all for, you know, doing the big arenas and making as much money for the company as possible.
Yeah.
But to gain the whole world and lose your soul doesn't do anybody good. Doesn't do anybody any good, right? So with all of that success, you still have to remain the alternative. You still have to have that rebellious spirit, that us against the world mentality that helped Ring of Honor rise to prominence in the first place. And that's what I want to do. That's who I want to be. That's the kind of champion that I want to be, not someone who just goes along with, you know, the status quo, not someone that, you know, is just a puppet. Like, I truly want to be the champion of and for the people, because there's a difference in my eyes between being the champion of a company and a company champion.
That's a great sentence. The pandemic has been very extraordinary situation all around the world. We talked before, but that led to some companies like Ring of Honor to stop its activities. How do you feel Ring of Honor had handled all this situation? Because I know that I don't know if some, but all the wrestlers were paid while everything was stopped. So how do you feel ROH was handling all together?
I mean, I think they did a great job. For there to be no positive cases, for them to do their due diligence
Uh-huh.
and do the research, uh, establish the bubble just like the NBA did.
Yep.
Really take care of their talent in the in between time there while they were trying to figure that stuff out. Um, Staying connected and having meetings and things of that sort of letting people know what was going on
Mm-hmm.
and keeping people updated was great. Um, and then to come out with fresh ideas and to hit the ground running,
Yep.
not only with the pure tournament, but with the matches that we've had after the fact,
Yep.
the stories, the production, how they've sort of revamped things to make the best out of this
Mm-hmm.
and put on a product that's been well received. Speaks great things to uh, the adaptability of the office, of the people, you know, on the creative side of things who are just busting their ass trying to make sure uh, that we can present what we are, and that's the best wrestling on the planet. Uh, so hats off to all of them for the tremendous job that they're doing.
Of
Hats off
course.
to the talent who have been on fire this
Mm-hmm.
whole time. Everybody's got a common goal, and they're driven to make this place the best that it can be. Uh, and you can see it night in and night out.
Yep. In my opinion, ROH did a great job, and I think it was the best company that keep the safety of its workers, and I think that's the main goal. That's the main thing on this situation. So, congrats on Ring of Honor for that. Since the product was brought back with the Pure Championship tournament, we saw like a different format of production on these episodes of ROH. Do you feel more comfortable with this different kind of product that now they're presenting to the people every single week?
I was comfortable with it before, but I
Yep.
definitely think it's new and it's more engaging, and it allows time for people that didn't know much about certain guys,
Yep.
that they're able to sort of look back and sort of get what makes them tick now,
Yep.
right? So they're allowed to dive in a bit more to characters that they may not have understood before, like a Brody King, like myself,
Yep.
like Kenny King or Tracy Williams or Jonathan Gresham now.
Mm-hmm.
They can relate. It allows people to relate to them more
Mm-hmm.
because they're getting to see um, what's inside the person.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
True.
So
Yeah.
uh, I like the fact that they're presenting it that way, because then the more people that people can relate to, the more people want to come see them perform when things happen. You know, the more they believe in them or the more they hate them, whatever the case is.
Yep.
But allowing that opportunity to be seen in front of them is tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
So I love it. Um, and I hope even when things do open back up and we can have fans again,
Yep.
that you know they continue to present it like this.
I think it's great. It's fresh. It's new. I love it. Really, I love it. And if I'm honest, I didn't know some of the guys that were on the Pure Championship tournament, and those introductions before every match, I think they were very smart to do because I didn't know them, and now before the match, I knew their backgrounds, where they come from, what they have done in professional wrestling. So that's great, and it's a great idea. And so again, thanks to Ring of Honor. Congratulations for that. Just only two last questions for you, Shane. With the victory over Kenny King 2 weeks ago, you handled a record of 12 victories, 1 loss since August 2019. That means more than 1 year, man. You seem unstoppable. Are you afraid?
Crushing.
Are you afraid of losing?
I mean, I'll answer that like this, right?
Okay.
There's a type quote that I like
Mm-hmm.
where he's talking about that fear,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to fear your opponent, because if you don't, then you can lose. But
Yeah.
you have to have that respect. You have to have that fear, and that's in anything, whether it's wrestling, playing sports, fighting,
Mhm.
anything.
Mhm.
Because if you feel like your opponent can't touch you or can't beat you, usually that's when you get your ass beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Usually that's when you had those major upsets because one team thought that the other team didn't belong in there or whatever the case. So um, being afraid to lose is always in the back of your mind.
Mhm.
But knowing how good I am, knowing what I can bring,
Mhm.
knowing how physically imposing I can be, how mentally breaking I can be, um, especially once I get in my mode, and especially if I'm motivated, which I am right now, um, to be Ring of Honor World Champion. There's not too many people that are standing in front of me,
Mhm.
um, able to take what I can dish out for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, however long it's got to be,
Yeah.
um, and come out on top. So I'm not really nervous. I'm not really sweating it. Up next on that list is Brody King.
Yeah.
Um, I've already knocked off one king
Mhm.
in Ring of Honor. So now it's just time to do it again.
Oh man.
Um, Brody is big, strong, powerful, fast, but nothing I haven't seen before.
Mhm.
Um, Brody's used to manhandling people and sort of imposing his will as well. So the goal is, and the plan is, to put him on the other side of that. Let's see how much punishment he can take.
Mhm.
Let's see how many broken ribs he can handle. Let's
Oh
see
my
how
God.
many shots he can handle. Um, because then that energy changes when you're on the other side of it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we're gonna test him, and we're gonna see where he's at, and see how much heart he's got.
It's going to be a very I don't know how to call it, but it's going to be great that match, man. And it's crazy. Just to look on these numbers, 12-1, it's great. It's man. Do you imagine that will happen? 12-1 just in more than 1 year. I know that of course 2020 has been a very tough year, but man, that's the numbers don't lie. So it's great.
I mean, and to be honest, right? All I can think about is that loss to Dragon Lee,
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
because that's the one loss.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't there, then you're talking about 25, 26 and 0 in the last year. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Still world television champion.
Yeah.
Still, you know what I mean? Like you're talking about, records at
Mhm.
that point,
Mhm.
right? So, um, damn, it's just frustrating to be like, damn,
Yeah.
that one night sort of changed everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know.
Uh, but it's good to have nights like that and reset and get back to basics,
Of course.
sort of. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
doing what I do. So, yeah, it just shows that the run that we're on
Mhm.
is pretty special, and it's only going to get better.
Okay. Last question. I don't want to ask you about what you're going to do because we know that maybe you're going to be the next ROH World Champion. But I want to ask you this. How do you want to be remembered once you decide to retire from professional wrestling?
The respect of my peers and the OGs in the game before me, as well as the people who've seen me perform, that legacy is the one that I want to leave.
Mhm.
I want the guys of previous generations, the leaders of previous generations of ROH locker rooms, to look at this era and go, that was Shane's era. To look at me and go, that's how you fucking do it, kid. Like,
Mhm.
to be able to uphold that standard,
Mhm.
that spirit, and to be respected amongst some of the greatest to have ever do it. That's my goal. To
Yeah.
have the respect of guys like Joe or Jay Briscoe or a Punk or an Aries
Yeah.
or a Nigel. To have guys like that, you know, look at my career and look at what I've done and go, he definitely could have ran with us in our era and been right there in the thick of things for the fans to recognize, that I've given them everything I've had from a performance standpoint, from a business standpoint. I am constantly trying to do things that are going to uh, allow them to be proud and be inspired by the stuff that I do.
Mm-hmm.
So just truly being the guy that was there for the people and never strayed, was always straightforward, always told the truth, was always real.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want my legacy to be.
Shane Taylor, former ROH World Television Champion, maybe future Ring of Honor World Champion, the baddest of all time. No,
Maybe.
not maybe.
Not maybe.
Future Ring of Honor World Champion, the baddest of all time. Thank you so much for being here. I think this is better than my introduction now.
I mean, yeah, you improved, but I mean, you already started down here, so the only way to go is up.
Yeah, I know. Thank you so much for being here. I wish everything is going to be well with you. I wish you the best on your career, and I hope really to talk with you, to meet you again. We met each other. You don't remember? I do. We met each other on London, in Manchester, and I hope really to talk with you again. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, man. Appreciate it.